Joe Flacco opened the season with a spark, a crisp, 13-play, 88-yard touchdown drive that made everyone briefly forget Cleveland's quarterback carousel. By the end of Week 4, though, that flicker has been smothered under turnovers, a sputtering offense, and a 34-10 loss in Detroit that left the Browns at 1-3 and asking a very obvious question. Is sticking with the 40-year-old veteran really the answer? ESPN.com Kevin Stefanski's answer is simple and blunt: not right now. After the game, he consistently sidestepped calls for an immediate quarterback change, saying the team didn't do enough on offense and stressing that the breakdowns are collective rather than solely on one player. That posture, protect the starter, insist on team accountability, is a classic coach move, and it's not without logic. Football is the ultimate team sport. Protection, play calling, drops, penalties, and play design all feed into a QB's stat line. Stefanski has repeatedly framed the issue that way in recent days, and that framing buys Flacco time. AP News. But context matters. Flacco's box score in Detroit was ugly. 16 for 34, 184 yards, 2 interceptions, and a fumble lost. Those turnovers converted directly into points for Detroit and killed any offensive rhythm the Browns might have built after that opening drive. The line between one bad game and trend is not one game wide, it's cumulative. Through 4 weeks, Flacco's downs have started to outnumber his ups, and the Browns' offense has produced too few sparks to justify long-term patience without a plan for change. ESPN.com. So why keep him in? There are 3 practical reasons the Browns are choosing the veteran path for now. First, experience. Flacco is a known quantity. He manages a game, he understands 2-minute drills, and he limits certain kinds of chaos simply by virtue of his command of NFL speed. Second, roster construction and development. The Browns still have a young quarterback room, Dillon, Gabriel, and Shedeur, both intriguing but unproven at the pro level. The team can afford, in theory, to let Flacco hold the line while those youngsters develop in practice and in lower pressure spots. Third, continuity and message. Coaches often worry that premature chopping and changing breeds worse problems: locker room instability, second guessing, and public noise. Stefanski is signaling that the organization wants to keep a steady hand during a messy stretch. CBSSports.com reprise, but there are costs attached to that steadiness. Keeping Flacco in means accepting the immediate risk of losses while the team's offense continues to underperform. It also delays the audition clock for Gabriel and Sanders. Both need live game reps to prove their worth or expose their limitations. If Flacco's struggles persist and the Browns fall deeper in the standings, that delayed audition looks less like prudence and more like paralysis. Fans and a front office that has already invested in a stout defense and modest offensive pieces are going to grow impatient when wins dry up. Dispatch.com. Let's be realistic about the alternatives. Benching Flacco today for Dillon Gabriel would not guarantee better results. Gabriel earned his draft grade via college flashes, but he's still a rookie with adjustments ahead. Shedeur, meanwhile, carries enormous hype and an outsized media footprint, and that footprint is part of the risk. Starting Sanders this early could provide a jolt, but it might also magnify every mistake into a storyline about drafting decisions and front office credibility. Cleveland's brass must weigh the long-term developmental value of regular reps against the short-term pain of likely growing pains in games that matter. News 5 Cleveland. There is also the schematic truth. Cleveland's offense hasn't been firing on all cylinders, regardless of the man taking snaps. Drops, third down play calling, missed explosive plays, and penalties have all conspired to make yards and points scarce. Stefanski is right that accountability should land across the roster, but coaches can't keep using "it's everyone's fault" as a permanent status report. Sooner or later, decisive action has to match the diagnosis. If the same problems persist after a measured window, the natural consequence is personnel change. ESPN.com. What would a prudent timetable look like? A reasonable approach for Cleveland: give Flacco one more meaningful evaluation period, say the next 2 games, with strict benchmarks. Those benchmarks should be more than completion percentage. They should include clean operation in the pocket, limited QB pressures and sacks, fewer turnovers, improved third down conversions, and evidence that the offense can sustain drives without relying purely on field position or defense. If the offense still flashes dysfunction after that window, it's hard to justify keeping the veteran purely for locker room stability. Fans forgive an initial slump. They rarely forgive stagnation. ESPN.com, there's also a case to be made for a hybrid strategy. Keep Flacco as the nominal starter, but begin a phased plan to accelerate Gabriel's or Sanders' development. That could mean scripted series in mop-up situations, design packages that play to the rookie's strengths, or mid-game series snaps to acclimate them to NFL cadence. The Browns need to create low-risk, high-value reps for their youngsters so they don't hit the market in 2026 with a muddled evaluation record. The window for a clean evaluation closes as games become win or go home in November. The team can't afford to wait until December to see who they have under center. CBSSports.com, whatever happens, the bigger picture remains. Cleveland's defense is one of the league's pillars. Their mistakes on offense are squandered chances. The front office built this roster to compete, not to coach through a season of maybe next year. Stefanski's stand for Flacco is defensible as a short-term posture. But in the NFL, patience has a price. If the Browns want to salvage October and build genuine future options at quarterback, they must pair Stefanski's message of collective responsibility with a clear, time-bound plan for on-field evaluation. Without that, the phrase, "we didn't do enough on offense," will begin to sound like a shorthand for "we waited too long." AP News, bottom line. Stefanski's decision to stick with Flacco to today buys stability and shields his roster from knee-jerk reactions, but it's a temporary shelter, not a permanent solution. The Browns need clearer milestones and a faster path to determine whether Flacco is the bridge to contention or an expensive pause before a rebuild. The next two games will tell you which. Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski made it clear after Sunday's 34-10 loss to the Detroit Lions that he's not ready to pull the plug on veteran quarterback Joe Flacco, at least not yet. "It's not our focus. We didn't do enough on offense," Stefanski said, defending his starter despite a sloppy performance. The 40-year-old Flacco finished 16 of 34 for 184 yards with 2 interceptions and a lost fumble against Detroit. Through 4 games, he now has just 2 touchdown passes against 6 interceptions and has been sacked 9 times. Those numbers are ugly, and the Browns' 1-3 start is drawing heat. Offense has been hard to find all season. Cleveland hasn't scored more than 17 points in any game and scraped together only 13 in its lone win, a 13-10 thriller over Green Bay. Amid that struggle, rookie running back Quinshon Judkins has been a rare bright spot, tallying 82 rushing yards and a touchdown, while leading the team in receptions against the Lions. Still, Stefanski is prioritizing stability. The coach is choosing veteran experience and what he believes is the best chance to win now over making an early, potentially disruptive change. Dillon Gabriel, the rookie taken 2 rounds before Shedeur Sanders, saw late mop-up duty Sunday and completed 1 pass. Sanders remains the designated emergency third quarterback and has yet to appear in a regular season snap. There are understandable reasons for Stefanski's caution. Flacco's command of a huddle, knowledge of the playbook, and ability to manage a game are hard to replace overnight. Flipping to a rookie in the middle of a difficult stretch, especially with 4 of Cleveland's next 5 games on the road, risks compounding the team's problems and might not give either young passer a realistic opportunity to settle into the job. But the counter-argument is loud and growing. When a 40-year-old starter is throwing multiple turnovers and an offense can't consistently move the ball, sooner or later the team must evaluate its future. Gabriel is the obvious next option. He's the next in line on the depth chart and the player most likely to be given an audition if Stefanski decides to pull the plug. Sanders, meanwhile, brings star power and accuracy, but carries additional off-field attention that could complicate matters, which is likely why the Browns have kept his role limited so far. What will change the conversation? Continued offensive ineptitude, turnovers that directly cost games, or injury to Flacco would all accelerate a switch. If Cleveland's offense shows signs of life while protecting the quarterback better up front, Stefanski may get the leash he's asking for. For now, the coach wants to stay the course and hopes veteran steadiness will stabilize the roster. But with the Browns set to play in London next Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, the debate over who should take snaps under center is certain to intensify if the offense doesn't start producing points and protecting its signal caller.